Well, hello. Hey, we are back here at with Freight Connect. Actually, this would be called Freightcast. My name is Paul with Freight Connect, and Freight. The reason I say Freightcast is sometime last year I was working on developing a podcast, right, and I called it Freightcast. I'm gonna get back to it pretty soon. I'm hoping to, but yet that was the name, the title that we gave that podcast. So I'm going to continue to use that. So welcome back to Freightcast, and we are back on our third. Actually, this is our fourth video. We've done three already, going back 3 weeks, and here we are in the fourth. And we're going to try to continue this thing. We're here to help businesses such as your freight brokers, your shippers, your carriers, your dispatchers, helping them to improve their business, increase their business opportunities for growth. And that's what we're all about. So, whatever we can bring to the table that helps in that respect, that's what we want to do. And so, what we have gone over so far, the first video was in regards to mindset. The next one was in regards to comfort zone, and that was getting you out of from your comfort zone. It's easy to get settled in and do the same thing over and over again, and unfortunately get the same results. So you have to get out of your comfort zone if you want to grow, if you want to develop. So that's what that was all about. Sales was the one that we did last week, and sales is in every business. You need sales. You're selling all the time, whether it's personally at home with your family, friends, or if it is in your business at every level, there's sales going on all the time. So that's vital. But today, what we want to talk about is the economy. We want to talk about the economy. Why? Because it matters. And the reason why it matters is if you think about it, the economy is everything to our industry. If it didn't exist, our industry would not exist. And what do I mean by that? Well, think about it. Um, well, actually, what we'll do is we're going to go through looking at what makes up an economy, the basics of it, right? And if that did not exist, then there would be no need for our industries, especially in the way that it exists today. So let's do that again. We've got mindset, we've got comfort zone sales, and now the economy. Okay. And so in going over the economy, there are four components I want you to think about. All right. You have to have supply and demand, right? In order to move anything, you have to have a demand for something, a product, a good, and then you have to have supply, someone that's going to provide that, right? And with that, you have an exchange and it goes around and around and around. It continually goes like that, right? And this economy, it expands, it contracts. There's a lot of players involved, but here are the four components that I would say for you to consider. Actually, this is what makes up the economy. You have the consumer. The consumer is all of us. We consume things. We have a need for goods, we have a need for services. So there is your demand. Then you have businesses, and that's made up of entrepreneurs, right? So they're working to supply the demand, to cater to the demand. And then you have investors, and these are those that own the businesses or that are owners or that provide funding for the business. And then you've got labor. You need employees, the labor force. You need people to work at these businesses to produce whatever it is to provide the service, right? And then we go right back to the consumer again, right? They're going to consume whatever is being produced, not just because you produced it, it's because it's something they want. So with that, that is our economy. All right. So if we're looking at those four components, those if we know what's going on with those four components, we might have an idea as to what's going on with the economy. And if we understand what's going on with the economy, and if our industry is so tightly connected with the economy, we can have an idea as to what's going to happen in our part of the world. Um, the one thing is that with our industry and the transportation industry, we expand and contract as well. So as the economy is doing well, we're doing well, and there's more players that come to the market, right? When we're not doing so good, then there are players that have to leave. That is just how it works. So when things are slow, it could be that there's too much capacity, too many carriers in the market, too many players in the game, right? That's because the economy has contracted. All right. When the economy expands, then there's a need for more capacity. And of course, we can go to COVID. That is an easy example to explain how that works. When COVID hit really hard, there was a need for capacity. There was a lot of trucks that came into the market. And when everything transitioned, the demand transitioned to goods, and there was no longer a big need for I'm sorry, to services, and there was no need for goods, not on that grand scale, then there was a contraction. There was a contraction in that part of the economy, and there was a contraction in the need for the trucking for trucks for capacity. All right. So then that required a lot of carriers to get out of the market. Okay. So as far as that goes, one of the things to look at are economic indicators. Okay, economic indicators, these are indicators that tell or give us an idea as to what the economy has been doing or what we can anticipate the economy to do in the future. Okay. So when we look at these economic indicators, they're going to tell us about a lot of different things. I mean, there's so much information out there when it comes to the economy. I geek out on it. I really enjoy it, looking at all that information. But, we can find out information in regards to the four components that we talked about that make up the economy, right? So when we're talking about the consumer, we can look at indicators that tell us about the consumer. Excuse me, we can look at indicators that tell us about the businesses, also about investors, owners, and also the labor force. All right. And so when we look at that and we have this information in front of us and we have an idea as to what it's telling us, we can come up with ideas as to what the economy is going to do or the direction that it's headed. Now, as to what the end result is, there are a lot of other influences that either will change it or is trying to change it, trying to improve it, or and whether it is to help our economy grow or to rein it in. Maybe it's just on fire and it's just, growing too fast. Then it needs to be slowed down. Now, if it's not moving fast enough or it's contracting, then there's some stimulus that can be put into the economy to help it grow, right? But this thing is always doing this, expanding, and is always contracting. It's always doing this. But we want it to grow over time, but not too fast, okay? But looking at these economic indicators can help us figure out what's going on. And if we have a good idea as to what's going on and try to anticipate what's to come, we can make better informed decisions for our business, okay? Even for our families. But in regards to our business, we can make better decisions. Decisions like where the freight is going to be coming in from, what sector is there going to be an increase in freight? Is there going to be a contraction? You can use this information when you're talking to shippers. It's a great conversation piece, and it helps you to look smart. And they may want to continue that conversation and ultimately give you business, right? Because then they might see you as some type of partner, someone that is in the know. It doesn't mean that you're an economist or anything like that. You don't have to know everything about economics. You just have to know some things that matter. Okay. And so, what I want to do today, I want to go over some things in regards to those four components or that I talked about that make up the economy. And then we'll also talk about some things that are going on today that will kind of bring this home. Okay. I'm not going to be too long on this, but um, the very first one that we talked about was consumer, right? The consumer demand. And the consumer is all of us, right? So just to mention some of the economic indicators that we can look at, that would be consumer confidence. That's been in the news lately. So the consumer confidence, if there's consumer confidence out there, then that means that people are going to spend money. If not, they're going to hold on to their money because they don't know what's going to happen. So they want to make sure that they're holding on to that money. Retail sales, we can see if people are spending money in retail, right? Personal savings rate, are people holding on to their money, or are people keeping a tight grip on it? Consumer credit growth, as far as credit goes, the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, and that would be basically we're talking about inflation and deflation. All right, when we're talking about the CPI. Now, that information, there's a lot of other information or a lot of other indicators that can be used when we're talking about consumers. But when we're talking about consumers, I mean, just to give you an example, in this case, say the consumer confidence um, index has gone down. All right. And we find that people aren't spending money. They're not putting money out there. What does that mean for freight? Well, probably it means that freight is going to be on the decline, right? So in the reverse, if confidence is up and people are spending money, and we know this based upon the indicators, then there's probably going to be freight movement, right? Because people are going to be spending their money on goods. Now, just because we looked at that and looked at these talked about these indicators, that doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. There's a little bit more involved, but this here would be how you would look at that for consumers. The other one is businesses. There are different indicators for that. I have a list here. There's the ISM Manufacturing Index, and that tells you about the activity of manufacturing. There's the business inventories. Is there well, it measures the stockpile of goods, actually. Durable goods orders, small business optimism index, the PPI, which is the Producers Price Index, which measures the inflation on the business side in regards to their cost, the price that they are paying for things. And so we can use this information to kind of determine what businesses are going through and to determine, hey, is there going to be any business out there for trucking? You can go to the investors, which are owners. One of the things we can look at is the stock market index, capital expenditures, interest rate, which is the federal funds rate, bond yields, foreign direct investments. This information will tell us how they are investing their money. Okay. So if they are putting money in a certain area, a certain sector, then there's probably going to be an opportunity there, right? There's probably going to be a movement of freight, right? But if everyone's holding on to their money, then there's not going to be a movement of much of anything, right? The labor force, there's the unemployment rate, there's also payroll, non-farm payroll, there's wage growth, labor force participation rate, and then the JOLTS report, which is job opening and labor turnover report. So these different indices or indexes, they can tell us what the labor market looks like, right? Do people have jobs, right? If they have jobs, and consumers might be spending money if they feel good about it, and if wages are up, they're spending money, then there's probably going to be freight movement. Okay, so that is just to identify in regards to those four components some of the indicators that can be looked at. Now, in regards to let's say today's economy, the one thing that we can identify or look at would be talk about is tariffs, right? I'm not going to get too deep into it. You've probably heard a lot about tariffs. Everybody knows about tariffs. But the one thing that we can look at is this tariff that's going to be imposed on Canada. I think it's coming April 1st. We don't, or 2nd. We don't know if it's going to happen or if it's not. It's supposed to happen. We don't know how long it's going to be around if it does. But it will change things. There's no question about it. And I think Canada has said that they plan to put out some tariffs of their own once this happens. And I guess that would be April the 3rd, I think. But it definitely keeps your ear to the ground and trying to understand and figure out what's going to happen next. But when we are talking about this, some people, they want to ignore it. They just don't want to have anything to do with it, don't want to watch the news. Um, but that might not be the best thing to do, especially if you are running a business. Not only do you want to hear about it, you want to know about it, you want to understand it. Okay. Um, so let's kind of go through a few things here. Um, I'm going to come back to tariffs, but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go over just a few indexes, talk about them real briefly, but just kind of put it out there to kind of give you some guidance, something that you can look at now and check out and have an idea as to what's happening. And, hopefully it does give you some kind of direction. All right. So what I'm going to look at is gross domestic product. And this here is to tell us, how the country is doing in terms of production. Um, Last quarter, which was uh, quarter four in 2024, the end of last year, it was pretty good. I think that it was at 2.8% for that quarter. So that's not bad. And I think a big part of that is because a lot of companies pulled forward, meaning that they put in orders before the tariffs were to be imposed. And the reason being is that that would help them save money. They wanted to avoid tariffs. So a lot of product was pulled forward. So that is that's what I think happened. That's a part of what I think happened. Coming into this quarter, we haven't finalized this quarter. This quarter finalizes in what I think Monday. That'll be the last day of the first quarter. It's gone by rather fast. But at this point, there has been a decrease in GDP. And I think that's probably because a lot of inventory was pulled forward in the previous quarter. And also there was weather, a lot of bad storms this first quarter that we had to deal with. So I think that that probably impacted GDP here in the first quarter. So with that, if you're just looking at, I mean, you want to look at these indexes or indices, you want to look at them over time, okay? Not just a snapshot for, say, a month or one quarter. You want to look at it over a stretch, whether it's 6 months, a year, or even longer, and you want to see what that trend has looked like, okay? Because if you look at it just in a quarter or, just in a small time period, you might see this and you think everything is going to go in the tank. But then you might see this and you might think it's good times, right? But you want to look at it over a longer period of time, all right, to get a better picture as to what probably really is going on. But if you do have GDP and it's on the downturn, well, it could mean that then the economy is shrinking and we're in a soft market and therefore demand is going to be low. All right. Okay, so consumer confidence, the consumer confidence, it did, as I said earlier, it's been in the news and consumers are not too confident right now. Again, you've got the tariffs that are going on, and even with businesses, they aren't making moves because they don't know what the tariffs are going to do. They don't know when the tariffs are actually going to be imposed. But the thing about it is that a business has to make decisions, and if they don't know what they're going to be paying or what's going to be happening in regards to such a situation, they're going to be at a standstill, right? Now, once they do know what's happening, they'll be able to make moves. They'll be able to tell their shareholders, what their next move is going to be. Um, but the thing is that my understanding is CEOs, they really are optimistic. They're a little cautious, but they're optimistic, more so in the long term. So they feel good about things and what's going on right now. A lot of people are concerned, and I understand why. It makes total sense. So consumer confidence is an indicator, definitely that could tell us um, maybe help us out in determining is there going to be an increase in freight movement. I mean, if consumers are not confident, they're going to hold on to their money. They're not going to spend it, right? And then you have retail sales. All right. So retail sales, it has some slow growth, but it's not bad. It's still saying that people are spending money. So that seems to be okay for now. The CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, and that is, determines inflation or tells us the rate of inflation or deflation. And right now, we're seeing that inflation has been cooling, and that's a good thing. So it's coming down. I think it's at 2.8, I think is what it's at. So the Fed, we know, want to get that down some more. They do want to get it down to 2%. Um, but right now prices are stable, it appears, and people are spending money. Unemployment, unemployment has been at record low. I mean, like for the past year, it's been pretty low. It's been down, I think, 3.5, maybe 3.6. Right now, it's at 4.1. So it's still historically low in that area, but it has ticked up a little bit. So, but the labor market appears to be strong still. Um, but you'll want to monitor that. Of course, if people have jobs, they're working, they have money, they're going to spend it, right? So we'll see how that works out. And then the Class 8 orders, that has dropped by 35% year over year. So going back a year to today, it's dropped by 35%. Um, that means that I think orders have been dropped or canceled. People aren't spending their money on equipment. Also, when we talk about the tariffs, with there being a tariff on aluminum and steel, that's going to cause the price of equipment to go up. And they're saying somewhere like about what, $35,000, I think. But that's going to go up with these tariffs. So there is a lot of concern in that regard. So, people are holding on to their money right now. Um, and then we have savings. Um, as far as people's savings is up. So looks like people are putting money away. People do that, in times of uncertainty. And I think that is the name of the game right now. The word is uncertainty, uncertain. A lot of people are uncertain. Businesses are uncertain. Consumers are uncertain. So there is some caution that is out there. All right. Um, so as far as all of that goes, we can look at this information and try to come up with a picture as to what's going on. Again, there's a lot of other indicators that we can look at, but looking at these indicators that we just talked about, again, uncertainty, caution, I would say those are words that really resonate with a lot of people today. But we just have to kind of wait and see what happens. Um, but what do we do in the meantime? I mean, there's still some business that is happening. There's still freight moving. you know, that will never stop. Even during COVID, we still had to move freight. We still had to keep the economy moving. We still had to um, uh, live our lives, right? And so right now, I'm going to list off some of the sectors, the um, um, some of the sectors that I think we can focus in on and try to find freight business because I'm understanding it's pretty limited out there, right? But here are some of the areas I would say you'd want to focus in on. Construction, housing starts, which is another indicator, right? Economic indicator that has increased by 11.2%. So one might want to look at the construction industry. We are getting into warmer weather, so there probably is going to be material moving, whether it's lumber or drywall or whatever it might be. Construction would be an area to consider. Um, Manufacturing, we already talked about that has been, well, I guess we didn't really get into it, but actually is, it has risen. So that is an area to look at. Manufacturing. So there's been a rise in manufacturing. Agriculture as well. Agriculture is another area to consider. You're going to have, um, there's fertilizer, there's equipment that is needed to for harvesting and things like that. So I would look into agriculture. That would be something to look into. This would be an area for refrigerated trucks, um, and dry and probably flatbed as well. Construction, definitely flatbed. Manufacturing, you're looking at dry van. So there's something out there for everyone, right? But those are the areas that I would look into: construction, manufacturing, and agriculture. All right. Um, Also, in regards to imports, there's imports there's been an uptick out there in Los Angeles. It's been like a 2.5% increase um, in, um, in units coming in. So that is an area also to look at. That would probably be good for drayage, last mile, intermodal. So there is something out there for everyone, but you've got to get out there and find it, right? And of course, that would take us to the next thing of finding it. How do we find it, right? Where do we go to find it? Well, it's not easy in the sense that, if it's something that you've not done before, but you can do it. You just have to build relationships. That is the key thing. Um, we can build relationships everywhere and anywhere. Okay. Um, Whether you're out and about, and you're at a store, you know, excuse me, you can build relationships while you're shopping. You can build relationships, of course, while you're working, whether it's at the dealership or whether it's at a shipper location, um, the consignee, the delivery location. Um, and there's just a lot of places where you can build relationships, really anywhere. So the key thing is this. How do I do it? Now we do have previous videos and information out there, such as information on mindset, information on getting outside of your comfort zone. And then also we have information out there in regards to sales as well. Now, if there's more that you want to know about all that, feel free to reach out to me. You can call me at 866-342-0040, extension 109, or you can send me an email at support@fr8connect.com. Excuse me. So at any rate, in regards to going out there and finding these opportunity. I mean, networking is huge. You want to find different events that you can go to for networking. This is how you're going to develop your leads list. There's ways to get lists. We can provide leads lists. You can have somebody do it for you, do sales for you. Of course, that's what we offer. But I definitely encourage you to work on developing relationships, communicating with people, just people in general, and start talking to them about just different things, talk to them about um, the economy. You don't have to get political about it, but you can talk to them about the economy, find out what they think about it, how are they able to take advantage of it, or how is it impacting them, and then just take the conversation from there. But there are many, many, many opportunities for you to connect with shipping opportunities. Okay. And I'd love to talk to you guys more about that. Again, feel free to reach out to me to talk about that. One of the things that you definitely want to do is in getting outside of your comfort zone, try to diversify, your business. Try to diversify the freight that you move. If you're moving the same freight, um, basically putting your eggs all in one basket, and when that basket goes away, well, you're going to have to find other opportunities anyway, right? And right now, eggs are pretty expensive and scarce. So um, I would definitely look to for other opportunities. Even though you're moving freight now, you should always be looking for opportunity, even when times are good or times are bad. I mean, right now, the indication is that the economy, there is a contraction that's going on, right? There's just so much uncertainty out there, we just don't know. Um, I mean, in regards to steel and aluminum, the tariff on steel and aluminum, that's going to cause a lot of things to increase in price, right? The production of trucking equipment, the production of auto equipment, or I'm sorry, auto sales will probably decrease, if we see the tariff there. Um, Also, um, with the supply chain, think about it. If we don't have that freight moving in regards to auto sales as we once did or as we do now, then there's going to be a lot of carriers that are no longer going to be able to move that freight because it's not going to exist. Just like I was saying, if you have all your eggs in one basket, then you got to go out there and find other opportunities, right? So if you're in the automotive industry and you're moving parts and things like that, you definitely want to consider other, even if things go well, you still want to look for other opportunities. You really, really do. Okay. Um, and as time goes on, the economy could do really well. It could. We don't know yet. And if it does, well, if you have been working to reach out to other opportunities, you just might find yourself in a really great situation because of these relationships that you've been working to build. Okay. And then one other thing I would say to continually do, um, continually monitor policies. Policies change as we've recently witnessed. They can change quickly, and they can have a quick impact on our business, right? So continually monitor. It doesn't mean that you have to have your nose in it every day, all day long. You just want to be aware of what's going on, all right? And of course, these economic indicators, you want to be looking at these economic indicators on a regular basis, right? You don't, again, have to have your nose in it all the time, but you want to know what's going on and start to understand it because it will make a difference for your business. And not only will it make a difference for your business, you can use this information to build relationships. You can have different conversations, right? With your newfound customer. And it helps to also retain the business, okay? Because they see you as a valuable asset when you're able to come to them with valuable information, okay? Um, well, there's a little bit more to talk about, but I think I'm going to end it there. What I want to do or what I'm going to do, I'm going to put all this information together and I will get it out. I'll put it on our blog at Elevate fr8.com. It'll be there on the blog, and there you can also listen to it. You can listen to the blog. It has an audio option, and also I'll put it out as a newsletter, so I will get this out. And I really do appreciate your time today. Um, Good luck ending the first quarter. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. I really would appreciate that. I'd love to get the information out. I'm going to try to change some things here. This background, I've been playing with it over the past 3 weeks. I don't know what to do with the background, but I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to figure out some other things as well. But if you have any ideas in regards to topics that you'd like me to talk about or that you'd like me to bring guests even, I'd love to do that, and that's the plan to do that. But I do appreciate the time today, and I hope you have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you in another week. Have a great day.